Ever wonder what it really takes to keep the lights on? Not just, flipping a switch, but the intricate systems and highly skilled people that ensure a city's energy needs are met.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating world behind the scenes.
Today, we're zeroing in on the fascinating role of nuclear reactor operators.
These are the folks who have, quite literally, the power of the atom at their fingertips.
And to guide us through this deep dive, we're turning to the insights provided by RoleCatcher. They've got this platform that goes way beyond your typical job description.
Oh, it's so much more than that. RoleCatcher provides this incredibly nuanced perspective.
So let's jump right in. When we talk about nuclear reactor operators, what are we really talking about?
Well, most people think, okay, they control nuclear reactors, and that's true, but RoleCatcher really helps you grasp the weight of that responsibility.
It's not just about pulling levers and pushing buttons, right?
Not at all. It's about orchestrating this incredibly complex system.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding how every single action, every decision creates a ripple effect within that system.
So it's kind of like, what would you say, conducting a very, very high-stakes orchestra.
That is a fantastic analogy because instead of musical instruments, they're managing nuclear reactions. They are ensuring this consistent and, crucially, safe output of energy.
So these are the people on the front lines of making sure the lights stay on.
Absolutely. Their expertise is just crucial for keeping everything running the way it should.
Now, let's talk about the stage where all of this takes place. What's the work environment really like for a nuclear reactor operator? I mean, is it like in the movies, all dim lighting and mystery?
Not quite. RoleCatcher actually does a great job of debunking some of the myths around the work environment.
Okay, so what's the reality then?
Well, they highlight that these plants are, first and foremost, incredibly clean, well-lit, climate-controlled environments.
Makes sense. Safety would have to be paramount, right?
You've got it. The safety protocols are incredibly strict, and with good reason, given the potential hazards involved.
Right, this isn't the place to cut corners. But, I mean, it can't be all smooth sailing, right?
You're right, there are challenges. RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from the realities of the job either. They emphasize that shift work is a major part of it.
So we're talking nights, weekends, holidays, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You need to be comfortable with a less conventional schedule, and of course, there's the pressure that comes with the job.
Dealing with forces of nature, that's got to be intense.
Absolutely, it demands respect. So having a calm demeanor, the ability to make those really sound judgments under pressure, those are essential qualities for a nuclear reactor operator.
And that leads us to this interesting point that RoleCatcher emphasizes throughout their guide, and that's the importance of what they call softer skills.
Oh, absolutely.
These personal qualities, they say, are just as crucial as having that technical expertise.
Right. You can know the ins and outs of nuclear reactions, but if you lack critical thinking, if you're not an active listener,
Or if you crumble under pressure.
exactly, then you're not going to thrive in this environment. These softer skills can really make or break you, especially in a high-pressure situation.
Can you give us an example of how those softer skills might actually come into play in a nuclear power plant setting?
Sure, imagine this. There's a sudden fluctuation in the reactor's power output, completely unexpected. Alarms are blaring, the control room is buzzing with activity.
Okay, so chaos.
Controlled chaos, hopefully. But in that moment, active listening becomes absolutely paramount.
So
The reactor operator needs to be able to process, very quickly and accurately, information coming from multiple sources, their team, the instruments, their own knowledge of the reactor systems.
So it's not just about, like, knowing how to read the gauges. It's understanding what your team is seeing and putting it all together.
Yes. And in fact, RoleCatcher describes this incident where miscommunication about a fairly minor valve malfunction
Oh, no.
almost led to a reactor shutdown.
Wow.
Thankfully, the senior operator on duty was an excellent active listener. They picked up on a discrepancy between what one team member was reporting and what the instruments were showing.
That's incredible.
It was subtle, but that attention to detail, that ability to listen critically, averted a potential disaster.
That really drives home just how crucial communication, critical thinking, all of that is in this line of work. It seems like having a cool head under pressure is just as important as the technical knowledge.
They really do go hand in hand.
Now, RoleCatcher also breaks down the career path for somebody who wants to become a nuclear reactor operator.
They do a fantastic job of it, actually.
And they lay out these steps from starting out to becoming a seasoned pro.
So let's trace that journey. Where does somebody even begin on this path? It's not like they just hand you the keys to a nuclear reactor after you graduate, really.
That's right. It's a journey. And it usually begins with building a really strong foundation in the STEM fields.
Okay, so we're taking nuclear engineering, physics, chemistry. Those are the essentials.
Exactly. Those are your building blocks.
So you've got your degree, you aced all those classes. What's next?
Well, that's where certifications come in. RoleCatcher refers to it as getting your nuclear driver's license.
I like that analogy. Yeah, it's actually a pretty apt comparison because these certifications, they really prove you haven't just learned the theory, but you've actually demonstrated this mastery of the knowledge, the skills you need to operate a reactor safely, effectively.
So it's like the difference between reading about how to drive a car and actually getting behind the wheel, but obviously the stakes are a little higher here.
A little bit, and this is why that real-world experience is just so crucial. RoleCatcher highlights the importance of internships or cooperative programs.
Okay, so getting that hands-on experience.
Exactly, because those provide aspiring operators with the opportunity to apply what they've learned, but in this really controlled environment working alongside those seasoned professionals.
Right, so you're not just reading about a control rod in a textbook. You're actually seeing how it functions within the entire system.
Exactly. You're getting a feel for the sights, the sounds, even the smells of a working nuclear power plant. It's all part of it. It's about that practical, hands-on experience. And you just can't replicate that in a classroom.
And I imagine that's where those softer skills that we talked about, they really come into play even more. Working as a team, communicating effectively when things get stressful, thinking critically on your feet.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Internships really act as this proving ground where you can hone those skills, but you're under the guidance of those experienced operators.
So you have a safety net, but you're also getting that real-world experience.
Exactly. It's a chance to really learn from the best, to understand the nuances of the job, to show what you're capable of.
So let's say someone's gone through all of this. They've completed their education, they've earned the certifications, they excelled in their internship, they're ready to officially launch their career. What does that initial role actually look like?
Well, RoleCatcher calls this the entry-level position, and it's often titled Assistant Nuclear Reactor Operator.
Okay, so it's go time, but maybe not completely solo yet.
That's a great way to put it. You're in the game, but still under the guidance of those more seasoned operators.
Sort of like a co-pilot, you're in the cockpit, but the captain still has the final say.
Exactly. You're assisting with those routine operations, monitoring all those various systems within the plant, really learning the ropes from the ground up. It's a period of intensive on-the-job training.
And I bet that's a lot of responsibility right from the get-go.
It is, but RoleCatcher really emphasizes that this stage is about proving yourself, showing that you have what it takes to handle the demands of this job.
Building that strong foundation.
Yes, for future career growth.
So let's talk about that growth.
Oh.
What does the path upwards look like from there? So you've put in the time, you've proven yourself, you've mastered those initial skills. Where does that lead you on this journey?
Well, as you gain experience, as you demonstrate your competency, you'd likely move up to the role of junior nuclear reactor operator.
Okay, so no more training wheels at that point.
Right, you're stepping into a position with more hands-on responsibility.
What does that look like day to day?
Things like independently monitoring the reactor's core parameters, conducting some of those routine maintenance tasks, even troubleshooting minor issues as they crop up.
So you're taking all that knowledge and you're really starting to apply it, make these judgment calls.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher, they have this great example of a junior operator who used their problem-solving skills to avert a potential delay. During a routine refueling outage, which, as you can imagine, those are carefully orchestrated.
Yeah, time is money in those situations.
Absolutely. So there was this technical glitch with one of the fuel handling machines.
Oh, no.
And this easily could have set the entire schedule back.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want.
But this junior operator, drawing on their understanding of the system mechanics and their experience from simulations,
Okay.
they were able to quickly identify a workaround.
Wow.
They proposed a simple adjustment to the fuel handling sequence that allowed the team to bypass the issue entirely.
So they saved the day.
They kept that refueling on track.
That's a great example of how that theoretical knowledge and that practical experience come together.
Absolutely. Because it's one thing to know what to do in a textbook scenario.
Right.
But out in the field, it's about adapting. solving problems in real time.
Okay, so let's say you continue to excel in that junior operator role.
Yeah.
What's the next step up the ladder?
Well, from there, you might find yourself on track to become a senior nuclear reactor operator.
Okay, so now we're talking about not just playing in the orchestra, but
Yeah.
maybe leading the orchestra.
That's a fantastic way to put it. At the senior level, you're responsible for not only the operation of that reactor, but you're also leading and mentoring a team of operators.
So that means making sure everyone's up to date on procedures.
Absolutely. You're maintaining those safety protocols, making sure everyone on your team is current on all the latest regulations.
Right.
And you're the one guiding that team, not only through those routine operations, but also through any unexpected events.
So really setting that example for the entire team.
Exactly. You're the captain, making sure everything runs smoothly. And you're also the one setting the tone, making sure the team has that culture of safety, of precision, of always striving for improvement.
It sounds like that requires more than just technical chops. That's leadership.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher emphasizes that this is a role that's only becoming more important as the nuclear energy landscape evolves.
How so?
Well, as we see older plants being retired, new designs being implemented, there's this increasing need for experienced operators to guide that next generation.
To pass the torch, so to speak.
Exactly. These senior operators, they're the ones who will be training, mentoring, inspiring the workforce of the future.
It's about shaping the future of energy.
And for those who are truly passionate about this field, there's one final step on that career ladder. Principal Nuclear Reactor Operator.
Okay, so this is the top. This is the pinnacle. What does this role entail?
Imagine overseeing the entire operation, but not just day to day, from that big picture, long-term perspective.
So thinking years down the line.
Absolutely. You're developing those operational strategies. You're ensuring that the plan is in full compliance, not just with current safety regulations, but with anything new that comes down the line.
I'm probably working with a lot of different stakeholders too, right?
Absolutely. You're acting as a liaison between the plant, the regulatory bodies, even sometimes the public.
It's not just about knowing the science at that level.
It's about understanding the economics, the environmental impact, the regulatory landscape, all of it.
So as you can imagine, it's a demanding role, but for the right person.
It's incredibly rewarding.
Well, RoleCatcher has definitely given us a lot to think about. It seems like building a career as a nuclear reactor operator, it's a path that demands dedication, this commitment to lifelong learning, and a true passion for this really powerful force.
It's not your average desk job, that's for sure.
And speaking of things to ponder, RoleCatcher leaves us with a very thought-provoking question. If you were in the control room of a nuclear power plant, what would be your biggest concern and how would you prepare for it? So to our listeners out there, we'll leave you with that question. What would be your biggest concern? Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.